Hello and welcome to the Splendor of Truth. My name is Januarius Asongu and I'm the author of this book. In our first YouTube presentation, we did the introduction to the book, and today we are moving to chapter 1. And chapter 1 is entitled The Birth of the Critical Mind, What Philosophy Really Is. What if the biggest problem in the world today is not lack of intelligence, but lack of critical thinking? Not what we know, but how we think. Welcome back. In the last video, I introduced my book, The Splendor of Truth, A Critical Philosophy of Knowledge and Global Agency. Today, we begin chapter 1, The Birth of the Critical Mind. Why does this chapter matter? Let me start with a simple question. Why do intelligent people still believe false things? We live in a world of advanced technology, global communication, unlimited access to information, and yet misinformation spreads. Conspiracy theories thrive. People argue over basic facts. So the problem is not access to knowledge. The problem is how we think. And that is where philosophy begins. What philosophy really is. Most people think philosophy is abstract, confusing, or even useless. But in chapter 1, I argue something very different. Philosophy is the world's oldest technology of liberation. Let me explain. Human beings face two kinds of problems. One, physical problems like hunger, disease, poverty. And two, mental problems like false beliefs, superstition, witchcraft, bad thinking. Science helps solve the first. Philosophy helps solve the second. And here is the key insight. You cannot solve real world problems if you misunderstand reality. Let me give you a simple example. Two communities experience drought. One believes the drought is caused by spirits or divine punishment, so they pray and wait. The other understands the drought is caused by natural processes, so they build irrigation systems. Same problem, different thinking, completely different outcomes. That difference is philosophy. The critical mind. So, what is the critical mind? It is the ability to ask, why do I believe this? What is the evidence? Could I be wrong? This sounds simple, but it is actually very difficult because most people don't question what they believe. They inherit ideas from culture, religion, society, authority, and they never test them. The critical mind does something different. It refuses to accept belief without examination. The courage to doubt. This is where philosophy becomes powerful and uncomfortable. Because thinking critically requires the courage to doubt. Not doubt everything blindly, but to question assumptions. This is what thinkers like Socrates did. He asked simple questions and exposed deep confusion. And for that, he was executed. Why? Because people are often comfortable with belief than with truth. The three tools of philosophy. In this chapter, I explain that philosophy works through three key tools. One, the critical inquiry, the ability to question. Two, ontology, understanding what is real. And three, epistemology, understanding how we know what is real. These three together form the foundation of thinking. Without them, we don't just make mistakes, we build entire systems on false assumptions. Why does this matter today? Now, let's bring this back to today. We are living in a time where social media amplifies opinion. Algorithms reward engagement, not truth. People are constantly exposed to information. But here is the problem. Information is not the same as understanding. And without critical thinking, more information actually leads to more confusion. That is the world we are living in. The consequence of not thinking. When people don't think critically, they believe false explanations. They mix, they misdiagnose problems. They take ineffective action. And that applies to individuals, communities, even entire nations, which is why I argue in the book that the crisis of our time is epistemological. Not just what we know, but how we know. Here is the transformational message. So, what does this chapter call us to do? It calls us to develop the critical mind, to move from belief to understanding, from assumption to investigation. Pass, passivity to intellectual responsibility. Because to think clearly is to act effectively. Let me leave you with this. The greatest threat to human progress is not ignorance, but unexamined belief. Let me repeat it. The greatest threat to human progress is not ignorance, but unexamined belief. And philosophy, at its best, is the discipline that frees us from it. In the next video, we are going to go deeper. We move from the idea of thinking to the structure of knowledge itself. Chapter 2 is entitled Critical Synthetic Realism. This is where I laid out the full framework, what truth is, how we test it, and how we avoid both relativism and dogmatism. If you want to understand how knowledge actually works, you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.